You might be wondering why you're here and watching this. Either you love China just as much as I do and want to learn about it, or you're being forced to by KGB spies that are trying to brainwash you into communism. Who cares? You're here now and that's what matters. To understand what we are getting into and why you might ask, what's so bad about being in China during the 1950s to 1970s? Calm down, bucko. I'm getting there. Here's me explaining why it's so bad. Specifically, the Great Leap Forward. Peak modern civilization. China is recognized as being one of the safest countries in the world. Only problem is outdoor and indoor air pollution, and probably the virus in 2019. Though still a communist party, what you see of China is 1000% better than what was China before. Mao Zedong, also known as Chairman Mao, was China's dictator and came into power in 1949 until his death in 1976. During Mao's time as chairman, China was having industrial and agricultural problems. Mao was hoping to create a method that would use more manpower instead of machines and capital expenditures. Mao was hoping for a more typical industrialization through gradual accumulation of capital and purchase of heavy machineries. The Great Leap Forward began in February 1958 until 1962. The campaign was to have steel furnaces in every villages and urban neighborhood and to increase iron and steel production. The plan was to increase Chinese steel production by 5 million tons up to 100 million tons annually by 1962. Why did this not go so well? Well, imagine yourself who has worked in a farm your entire life with little to no education and never worked in a factory and was asked to have a steel furnace in your backyard and make steel or iron with an expectation of an amount every single day. Not the brightest idea, but I understand what Mao was trying to do, I guess. Agriculture, as you know, was already going downhill. With more people in factory means you need more energy and food, which comes from food. Therefore, more food equals more energy and not hungry dead people. So, more farmers were also needed, and with that, new farming skills were acquired. The innovation resulted in declining and failed experiments for the crops, including improperly constructed water projects. A campaign was launched to kill any sparrows due to Mao's belief that they were eating away all the crops, when in reality it was resulted in a massive locust swarm, and due to no natural predators, other animals and bugs kept eating the goods, meaning grains production went down. With agriculture losing production means people aren't getting enough food to eat. Therefore, starvation equaling death. Yes, it happened because a famine started across the countryside and resulted in millions of deaths. According to articles and website, it was estimated that 10 to 40 million Chinese people died from starvation. In history, this was known to be one of the highest death counts that was not due to a war. People resorted to eating anything, even resorting to cannibalism or attempts to escape, which ended up with torture, being killed alongside with family members, scattering with boiling water, beating publicly, or other method that is considered punishment. Overall, not good. Goal was to increase metal production, which considers mainly iron and steel. Industrial production was introduced to urban areas, meaning villages and neighborhoods and backyards. Mao believed that their industry was going to skyrocket in production and exceed Britain's within 15 years. The backyard furnace was proven to be useless, as metals that were smelted were tools, pots, household items, or already existing objects. Another problem was fuel, as you needed to use the furnace and cook the metal. Because of horrible planning, this resulted in material shortage and industrial investment resources ending in with no corresponding increase in manufacturing output. Most of the industrial workers were families that were forced to leave the agricultural labor. And because of the already failing agriculture industry, workers in factories were also suffering from hunger. If you couldn't tell, the Great Leap Forward ended up as a massive failure, with tens of millions of people dying from starvation, execution, overworking themselves from labor. Farmland were also destroyed. Trees that were used to fuel furnaces were lessened now, and most definitely, this is not a year to celebrate. What was the point and why? Because communism regime and China wanted to modernize their agriculture and industrialization. How many people died? Although there is no exact counts of death, researchers have estimated the death toll to be around 30 million and 45 million individuals. Following the massive failures of the Great Leap Forward, Chairman Mao stepped down from his power, although still maintaining his power somewhat. Something important was after the massive failure of the Great Leap Forward, Chairman Mao stepped down from power, but not completely. He was still somewhat in power, but not really, After Mao's position was weakened, Mao ordered a cultural revolution. Unlike the Great Leap Forward, this was primarily more a political upheaval and did not produce any changes in economics policy. The Cultural Revolution was a decade-long period of political and social chaos caused by Mao Zedong. Launched in 1966, the reasoning of this was because Mao wanted to keep his power and inject new life into socialists. Gangs of students, also known as Red Guards, would attack and beat up people wearing bourgeois clothes on the street. Signs were taken down, and religious symbols were replaced with Mao himself. Between 500,000 and 2 million people lost their lives during the Cultural Revolution. September 9th, 1976, Chairman Mao died at the age of 82, ending his insane kill streak. With other leaders taking over as chairman in China and moving forward, we can all agree that the world would be a better place with Chairman Mao, and you do not want to live in an era where you were involved with the Great Leap Forward.